Well, people aren't born with anxiety, but that's what's happening to Claire. Hello,
Anxiety is
Claire.
an interesting thing, Claire, because at various... We're going to talk about how far your anxiety's gone, but I would say, Nick and Eva, Sunday night, Monday morning's a bad time for anxiety with people. They worry about the week ahead, going into work, school, whatever it happens to be. But in your case, Claire, tell us what you're worried about.
Hiya. I had a car crash quite a few years ago. It was quite a traumatic one, and then I got pregnant, and since my son's been born, I can't do dual carriageways, long roads, downhill, motorway. I can't do activities with him. And
Well, you're getting upset even talking about it.
Yeah, because it's just restricted the whole of my life. I can't do anything. It's affected every part.
OK, Claire, so let's just turn the clock back a bit. Before you had the car crash, did you have anxiety then?
No, I had nothing.
OK, so we know that that's the cause of this, as Em was referring to before. There's always... Anxiety is a symptom. And have you been diagnosed with anything?
They just said that I've got... I get panic attacks and anxiety, and they say take antidepressants for it.
OK, so let's turn the clock back. When you had this accident, just tell me what actually happened.
I bought a car and there was loads of banging in the engine. I kept taking it back to the garage and they said they could hear it, but they couldn't find it. And then this one day, I was going up a hill and the steering went. I hit the curb. It threw me into a brick wall, back out, back into another brick wall, and then into the oncoming traffic. But I didn't have a mark on me. I was fine. I got out. I was fine. And I drove. But it was only when my son was born that it all changed.
OK, and what was the issue with your son being born?
I had a real bad pregnancy, a bad delivery, and then I was really poorly after.
OK, so going back to the beginning then, before you had any anxiety, you had this car crash, but prior to the car crash, you'd taken the car back to the garage several times saying that there was a problem with it, and nothing was done about it. You then have this accident. And in that moment of having the accident, obviously, you said you walked away and you're OK, but you could have died in that accident. And therefore, you then, in that moment, say to yourself, if I survive this situation, what's caused it? And therefore, I want to be protected from this in the future. And in that moment, because you sat in the car, you blame the car. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So therefore, you become frightened of cars. But to another extent, you also become frightened of people giving you the wrong opinion, basically, and therefore you question everything about life because you took that car back many times and they didn't do anything about it, and that led you into a situation that you could have died. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So you move on with your life, and then you have the pregnancy, and then that obviously is traumatic as well, and therefore you're at this point now in your life, years after, that you feel that everything is dangerous.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, even buses, big wheels, fairground rides, everything. OK,
so what I want you to consider is that anxiety is a symptom, and then from that we can get depression because we feel that we can't function in life.
Yeah.
So, going back to the accident, I know a lot of things could have happened, and I know you probably feel that you got let down by the garage, but ultimately, you walked away. So what did happen?
I survived it, but every car I get into, I think, because the wheel was the first thing that came off, because the engine come through the wheel arch. Every car I get in, I'm paranoid the wheels can come off.
What I want you to consider, though, is how long were you driving a car before that happened?
17 years.
OK. And in that 17 years, did you ever have an accident?
No.
OK. So, in essence, you've never had an accident that's been your fault, whereas this really wasn't your fault because you tried to get it fixed at the garage, but they didn't actually fix it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'd like to focus on the 17 years accident-free and not the one event that you actually tried to resolve that wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
And therefore, that one event does not represent your life. And I understand that you had a traumatic birth, but is your baby OK?
Yeah, he's fine. He's been poorly on and off, and he's had a couple of operations, but he's fine. He's fine.
But again, that traumatic birth does not represent your life or you having a baby. So you've had two traumatic incidents, but prior to that, you didn't have any anxiety, and the anxiety is based on those two incidents. But ultimately, I want you to look at it and consider that everything was OK.
Yeah.
So what should Claire do if she has to get into a car now? She's got to remember all those things you've just said to her.
The main thing...
To say, you know, never had an accident before, this is not going to happen again.
Yeah, but really, the main thing that Claire... that you have to remember, Claire, is that you identified when there was a danger and you dealt with it. So had people listened to you, and you would never allow that to happen. If something goes wrong this time, you will action it. So you can really get into a vehicle and rest assured and be confident in yourself that you were able to identify when there was an issue. You would if there was an issue in the future. For 17 years, you were perfectly fine. One small incident that probably took a matter of seconds does not reflect the rest of your life. So literally, when you get in the car, don't blame the car. Blame the garage. The car never let you down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But even I've had different cars since then. Every car, I'm taking the car back going, there's something wrong with the wheels, something wrong with the wheels. And they're going, there's nothing wrong.
Because you've lost confidence.
Because you've lost confidence in the garage and you've lost confidence in the car. But I'd like to take you right back to that beginning. Just consider 17 years driving absolutely trouble-free.
Yeah, I used to go down the motorway, you know, travel everywhere. But now I can't even do round little villages and backcountry roads.
Sarah, sorry for you. We've got to travel to the break right now, but
okay.
I hope you find that in some way helpful or useful.
Nick and Eva will call you off air.
Good idea.